What's going on, guys? So, Nintendo just did a really weird thing. Surprising, huh? Nintendo doing weird things. But this is a weird thing even for Nintendo. So I wanted to jump on here really quickly and talk to you guys about it. Nintendo has decided to localize the original NES version or Famicom version of Fire Emblem that was only available in Japan. It is now fully translated and it has some quality of life improvements as well. Like you'll see here in just a moment, you'll be able to go back to your previous moves in the game, which is really cool because Nintendo doesn't really do that with their classic content, at least not on the Switch. We haven't seen anything like this on the Switch where they've, added, basically given us an original game in its original form, but added a layer of coolness on top of it with extra quality of life features. We've never seen that before, but check that out and then check this out. Rewind to previous turns. That's really cool. But I think that, first of all, it's really cool that we get this piece of history. I mean, Fire Emblem is a massive series right now, and it's so cool that we get to see this old school game in all its glory. It looks great, by the way. I'm sure it plays great, and we're gonna get to enjoy it. And it's only like $6 right now on the eShop. And we're also getting this really beautiful deluxe edition physical version. So this is actually one of those times when it makes sense to buy both the digital and this crazy big version right here, because this crazy big version is obviously going to cost a lot more than $6, but just to have it on the go and not have to keep up with the cartridge and stuff, I'm willing to throw in an extra $6 personally. Now, I'll mention I've never played a Fire Emblem game personally. This is not very nostalgic for me, this particular title. But what I'm interested in here, what I find fascinating, is not that this is not that this is nostalgic for me, but that Nintendo is starting to loosen up. They're starting to break their own rules, because here we're seeing Nintendo put out a deluxe physical edition of an NES game, which they're already basically giving us for free, a bunch of NES games through their Switch Online service on the NES app. We get a ton of NES games, but there's a problem with that service in my mind. There's a problem with that NES app and that SNES app because they limit, it creates a way for Nintendo to drip feed us their titles, their classic titles. So yeah, there's probably a reason there's no N64 games that Nintendo has offered on the Switch, and that is because they eventually are going to put out an N64 app with this service, or maybe an upgraded service, or maybe like a tiered service. Like, hey, you want the platinum, you want the platinum service, then you gotta shell out $20 a month, and then you get Wii games and GameCube games and Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color and all the different systems, and we give you these select titles for each system, but you gotta just pay a lot more. So there's that, which we'll probably see in the future, I think. But for now, it's cool that Nintendo is just saying, hey, we're actually gonna give you guys this one game on its own. And that means we're probably going to get other games like this as well, which is really exciting. Like, we need quality of life improvements in some of these old games, and save states are cool, but they're not always enough. Like, I'll give you guys a really good example. Sega put out a version of the original Phantasy Star game through their Sega Ages series. Phantasy Star 1 was a very, very cantankerous game, a very player unfriendly game back in the day, especially by today's standards. But Sega put out this version of the game where you get to have a dungeon map, which is huge because you actually know where you're going now. Excuse me. So you get the dungeon map, and you also just get like an easier mode, but it's like intelligently easier. Like it's just basically the difficulty that the game should have been all along, which is just not quite as punishing. And that's the version that is generally recommended that you play for that game. So that's cool to see Nintendo doing the same thing. Finally, think about all of the classic game manufacturers out there that are re-releasing their own games, that are putting all of these wonderful quality of life touches. And then we have Nintendo that's not doing that at all, really. The only time they give us improvements in a game is when they just completely remake it, like Link's Awakening, for example. Complete remake. Or what's the more recent one? It's the RPG. Can't even think of the name of it. Don't worry about it. But anyway, basically, yeah, I just wanted to jump on here really quickly to say how excited I am, not even about this game specifically, but the fact that we're now going to get occasionally these deluxe editions of old classic games, not remakes, just quality of life improvements, and the original game that we can play. We're gonna get to play Translate. I mean, obviously the one that comes to mind is Mother 3. We may actually get Mother 3 with something like this. And we could also get like all the, Earthbound 1 through 3, Mother 1 through 3 this way. That would be really cool. It opens up a lot of doors because we've seen this actually twice consecutively pretty quickly, because we had Mario 3D All-Stars, which was similar in that it was classic Nintendo content that Nintendo was putting out and giving us that was not part of one of these online service apps that they're giving out for free in a drip feed kind of way that is cool in some ways, but ultimately it's really not cool because it's limiting. It limits our access to old games, the ones that we want to play, the important ones. Earthbound, for example, Final Fantasy 3, aka 6, that's not on there. That's technically a Square game, but you get what I'm saying. I think we still don't have like Super Mario RPG for the NES. That's one of the biggest games for the NES. Where's that? Do we have that game on the NES app? I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, getting a little rambly here, but the big takeaway here is that or a couple big takeaways. Great that we get to have this piece of history and that we get to have a slightly modern layer put on top of it with these quality of life improvements. And then it's also just amazing that Nintendo's starting to loosen up. They're starting to break their own rules. So we may see more stuff like this. For me personally, I don't mind paying an extra $6 if it means I get to play a game that I'm really interested in versus having a Netflix-style grid of games, of classic games that I may or may not be interested in. I mean, if I had to pick one or the other, I'm willing to just shell out small amounts of money for the games that I really want to play versus having a large, selection. Yeah, I mean, that's how I would want it. That's personally how I would want it. And again, there are problems with that NES service because of the drip feed model that Nintendo has right now. And they're starting to break from that. That's exciting. So I wanted to get on here and just shout from the rooftops that this is a really cool thing that Nintendo's doing, and hopefully it is a sign of what's to come. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking me out. Later.